this is the only event we have in either Northern Ireland or Ireland in terms of the World Professional Snooker Tour. So we don't have five of the really big players here. From a player perspective, how does that feel for the players like you who are here, who are trying to come out and perform? How does it make you feel, or what's your perspective on players not being at events?
Well, I'd like to get to the point where players are able to pick and choose. Is obviously is harder for the fans. Obviously, always want to see the best players, but in any other sport, there's always tournaments where the top players are going to be missing, and if you are going to miss one, this for me probably isn't the one to miss, just because of the arena. There's certain arenas on the tour that you'd much rather skip than this one. This is probably sort of top three or four of atmospheres to be involved with. So I think it just so happens that it wasn't purposely that it was this event. I think it was just a bad timing. But this in the future, all the top players will be back here, and obviously disappointing that Ronnie pulled out, but with his injury, he's just obviously trying to manage maybe some of the bigger prize money events. Hopefully in the future this will be up there with similar prize money, and then no one will be missing it.
Yeah, sure. And maybe just finally, in terms of maybe things that might change for next year's calendar, Neil Robertson was in earlier on and talking about maybe a slight tweak on the calendar might be needed to give players a chance to play more events in China or whatever it might be. Is there something from your perspective that you'd like to see change, or are you happy with how things are now, or where do you sit on that?
I'd like to see a tournament every single week, and in the same position, and then the players can sort of pick and choose a little bit more. It'd be nice to get to a point where there's even more tournaments and there's more going on, but you don't have to play in the events. So I think the lower ranked players would love to be able to play every single week and give them a chance to earn money. The top players don't have to play. I think at the moment it's a little bit in between, where you feel like you have to be involved. There's not enough, but there's not too many either. It's just a little bit in between, so you feel like you have to. But it'd be nice in the future to you just get that little bit of extra organisation to give you maybe 1 or 2 days off at least in between events. Maybe start events on a Tuesday instead of on a Monday sometimes, and stuff like that. So at the moment it's not rewarding if you're winning events. You're kind of being a little bit punished because it's hard to keep up without that rest. But yeah, let's hope that there's more and more tournaments, and then you'll see the standard kind of rise and rise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that because the situation is that, you know, China's opened up and other countries have opened up, and you know, sort of like we're going back to the players being able to, you know, command really good appearance fees in these events, and you know, we get paid more for appearing in those for a few days than what the winner will get here. So you could understand players maybe making that decision. I think that it was unfortunate, the situation that happened, and you know, I totally get the players' point of view where they chose not to enter this event to do something else. Many other sports allow this to happen. World Snooker got a pretty tight grip on things with, you know, control of the players and stuff, but that's what it is in the current players' contract, and you know, nothing's doing anything in a malicious way or anything. But what I would have liked to have seen happen is that the players were allowed to enter this, which they weren't. And I know that a couple of players wrote written withdrawals for this event, which World Snooker kept them in the event to convince them to play in it, which that's not acceptable. That's not acceptable. And I know that for a fact. So the reputation, so the relationship with players and World Snooker needs a lot of improvement, massive amount of improvement. World Snooker did amazingly well during COVID, absolutely unbelievable what they did for the players. But the world has moved on, things have opened up, there's many opportunities, commercial opportunities for players. Players can go back to earning really good money off the table, and I think that World Snooker need to kind of meet halfway in allowing players to do that, because I think denying them, you know, an incredible amount of appearances and stuff like that, you know, when it's not, I believe that Macau wasn't streamed or anything, right? It wasn't televised, it wasn't streamed or anything. So and those players aren't here anyway, so it didn't really make sense to not allow them to do Macau, but then not allow them to re-enter this event. Do you know what I mean? Like, that doesn't make sense.
So what would it look like in a year? Would it be that there'd be a little bit more space in the calendar or a bit more leniency? Like, how does it manifest itself for the 24-25 season?
The calendar needs work. The calendar there needs to be a lot more transparency with the calendar. Like, we went to Shanghai in September, then we came back. Was the English Open after Shanghai? Yeah, which is fine. I think there was like a week gap. That's fine, week gap. But I know Judd won the English and he won Wuhan. Great for him, like he did. I've done it as well, where I've won tournaments when you're in different countries, and someone has to be the lucky one, right? So you don't really complain about it. But to have the English Open, to then straight away Yushan, to then coming back again, to then going back to China. No other sport does that. Like tennis, golf, play the China tournaments back to back. I know that it's sort of seen as like sloppy seconds for the Chinese events, but I'm sorry, player welfare is the most important thing. The airline prices have doubled. So in Wuhan, out of 128 players, 32 walked away with a profit. Now, how can you have 3/4 of the tour out of change from an event, even when they've won matches? So I won a match and I flew out there. I didn't even fly business class. Business class was £5,500. So I flew premium economy. I still walked away in the red. So I think China was on this season. It's great. We're back there. But for next season, the calendar's got to change. Player welfare has to take into account. Climate change, global warming. World Snooker don't really want to be seen as forcing players to fly here, back and there, when we can actually stay in China. We don't have to take all these flights and everything. Formula One, all the other sports, very sort of focused on trying to reduce, the carbon footprint. So, again, lots got to happen, and I'm sure over the next few months, the players are going to get together. We are together, and the top players have never been more united than what we are. So but I'm sure that things will get resolved. I've no doubt, because World Snooker want to see a happy tour, and the players want to see a happy tour. It's not like World Snooker punishing people because they enjoy it. We all want to get along together. We all want to be great, be a part of a great tour, a great sport, and the game's doing really well. Like the viewing figures, everything's good. So yeah, I'm sure it will resolve itself. But at the moment, a lot of hard work needs to be done from both parties, from both sides for sure.